Every night, millions of people reach for a bottle to solve their sleep problems. It is a multi-hundred-million-dollar industry, yet rigorous clinical data shows that for the average healthy adult, it is largely ineffective as a sleep-inducing sedative. The market is driven by a specific physiological misunderstanding, the belief that swallowing this compound actively generates and maintains the architecture of human sleep. But melatonin does not generate sleep. It is strictly a chronobiological timing signal. It is the body's natural hormone of darkness. To understand why the supplement fails, we have to look at how the brain naturally produces its own supply. Then we will look at the exact clinical data to see how high-dose over-the-counter pills actually perform in controlled trials. Finally, we will identify the single specific demographic where taking this hormone is actually medically justified. Treating a delicate timing signal, like a blunt force pharmaceutical sedative, completely misreads human neurobiology, and that misunderstanding has led directly to a modern crisis of supraphysiological overdosing. The regulation of human sleep begins deep inside the brain, specifically with the suprachiasmatic nucleus and the pineal gland. The suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, is the brain's central 24-hour master clock. The pineal gland is a small structure that secretes hormones directly into the bloodstream based on signals from that clock. Environmental light acts as a hard physical brake pedal. Sunlight hits the eyes, travels to the SCN, and actively signals the pineal gland to halt the production of melatonin during the day. As dusk approaches and that light fades, the brake pedal lifts. The spigot opens, and the pineal gland initiates the release of endogenous melatonin. Notice the shape of this release. It happens as a gradual, low-amplitude wave about 1 to 2 hours before the onset of sleep. It serves purely as a chemical messenger, communicating to the rest of the body that night has arrived. Sleep researcher Dr. Matt Walker uses a precise conceptual model to explain how this chemical message interacts with the sleep state. He compares melatonin to the starting official at an Olympic 100-meter sprint. It calls all the biological systems to the starting line. When you finally transition into sleep, that official fires the gun, signaling the start of the physiological night. But here is the crucial limitation. The starting official does not participate in the race itself. The actual architecture of your sleep is generated and maintained by entirely different neurochemicals. This includes the clearance of adenosine, a chemical that builds up sleep pressure during the day, and the activation of GABA pathways, which inhibit brain activity to keep you asleep. Because melatonin's only job is to signal the start of the sequence, flooding your brain with more of it will not force your body to generate deeper, longer, or higher quality sleep. This biological theory perfectly predicts the clinical reality of over-the-counter melatonin efficacy in healthy adult populations. To measure that efficacy, researchers use a meta-analysis. A meta-analysis is a statistical method that aggregates data from multiple independent peer-reviewed studies to find the true statistical average of a specific intervention. This chart shows the exact finding regarding total sleep time. Exogenous melatonin increases sleep duration by a mathematically negligible average of exactly 3.9 minutes. Look closely at how marginal that is. Inside a standard 8-hour or 480-minute sleep cycle, that tiny sliver dismantles the compound's reputation as a powerful sleep aid. The second finding is equally stark. Sleep efficiency, the actual percentage of time spent asleep while lying in bed, improves by only 2.2%. These marginal clinical gains stand in sharp contrast to the massive market perception. Many consumers are simply experiencing a powerful placebo effect, where the mere belief that they are taking a sedative helps quell anxiety and induce sleep. This weak clinical effect aligns perfectly with the biological model. While melatonin does trigger a slight drop in core body temperature by about 1 degree, which might aid the initial transition into sleep, it completely fails to maintain the architecture across the night. For the average healthy adult, the clinical data is definitive. Taking exogenous melatonin is a failed intervention for extending or deepening sleep. So if the effect is negligible, we have to investigate the chemical payload of the supplements themselves, comparing natural production to what consumers are actually swallowing. This chart breaks down the dosing discrepancy. On the left is the optimal physiological dose, the exact amount the human brain naturally expects and utilizes. That sits right between 0.1 and 0.3 milligrams. Contrast that with typical over-the-counter commercial doses. They routinely range from 1 to 20 milligrams, dwarfing the biological requirement by factors of 10 to over 100. This practice is what we call supraphysiological. It sleds the body with hormone levels far above what is biologically normal or safe. The problem compounds when we look at manufacturing. A rigorous purity study analyzed 20 different brands of supplements to measure the actual chemical content in the pills against their printed label claims. The study revealed extreme, unregulated variance. Pills contained anywhere from 83% less melatonin, all the way up to a staggering 478% more than the stated dose. The systemic risk here is severe. The consumer is blindly introducing erratic, unpredictable fluctuations of a highly active hormone into their endocrine system every night. Laboratory animal models show exactly how severe those risks can be. Massive doses of melatonin are known to be highly androgen suppressive, meaning they actively inhibit the production of male sex hormones like testosterone. In those models, researchers observed extreme biological consequences. Seasonally breeding animals exposed to supraphysiological levels of melatonin experienced severe gonadal shrinkage. Taking a standard commercial melatonin supplement means risking unregulated androgen-suppressive hormone spikes for an average return of exactly 3.9 minutes of sleep. Despite its definitive failure in healthy adults, there is one specific clinical population where exogenous supplementation is scientifically justified. That demographic is older adults, generally aged 60 to 65 and above, who suffer from clinical insomnia. This chart compares the biological mechanism. On the left, a healthy release curve. Over decades, the pineal gland undergoes calcification, degrading its ability to produce a high-amplitude spike. The older adult's curve is severely blunted, lacking the evening peak, causing the circadian rhythm to falter. The brain is left guessing when night has arrived. This leads directly to difficulty initiating and maintaining the architecture of sleep. Supplementation works specifically for this population because it acts as targeted hormone replacement therapy. It restores the missing endogenous signal rather than trying to drug a healthy brain into submission. For the aging brain experiencing structural gland degradation, a targeted microdose of melatonin successfully fixes a broken biological clock, making it a valid medical intervention. The final scientific verdict on melatonin divides the population into a strict binary decision matrix based entirely on clinical data. For older adults over 65 experiencing insomnia, the directive is clear. Utilize targeted physiological microdosing between 0.1 and 0.3 milligrams to replace lost endogenous signaling. For healthy adults, the directive is uncompromising. Abandon the supraphysiological pill. It provides statistically zero benefit while introducing severe endocrine variants. The ultimate biological alternative is simple. Optimize your daily sunlight exposure. Sunlight naturally controls the SCN's brake pedal on your own endogenous melatonin supply. True sleep and performance optimization requires aligning with human chronobiology rather than trying to force a delicate timing hormone to act as a brute force pharmaceutical sedative.